people to join, feel free to put in the chat where you are tuning from and what's your role. So yeah, you can just click on the chat and let us know where you're tuning from. So, and Barbara, you can start if you want.
Well, wonderful. Nice seeing everyone joining. I'm Barbara. I'm from Amplemarket sales development team. I used to be on the business development team for a couple of years, and I'm based in Porto, in Portugal. Very sunny day today.
Me too, Barbara.
Nice, Katrina. Nice to hear.
Nice. So we have you in Porto, we have Catherine in Porto, and for the rest who just joined, where are you watching the webinar from? So meanwhile, we have more people joining. On my side, here I'm Elric. I'm an advisor here at Amplemarket, and also on top of that, I'm the SDR leader at AgroApples. And today I'm joining you from Mexico City.
Probably good weather too.
Indeed. It's pretty good weather right now in Mexico. Hey, Michelle from Poland. Nice to have you here. Okay, then we have Kaylee. Thanks for joining us from South Africa. We have Treda from the US, SDR. Nice, welcome Treda. And then we have Omar also from Egypt. Nice, we have like a lot of people from all around the world, so that's nice. Hey Jack from London. We also have Peter from the UK. Welcome Kaylee, SDR. Katarina from Greece, welcome. We also have Madej from Bratislava in Slovakia, welcome also. And we have Ali from Toronto. Welcome everyone. I think we can start where we have more people joining. So yeah, I know Barbara, you're already starting to introduce yourself, but for those who just joined, can you introduce yourself again, please?
Yes, absolutely. Super happy to be here and chatting with you, Elric. I am feeling the burden. You usually talk with like top SDR performance, amazing sales leaders on LinkedIn. So I'm really happy to be chatting with you today. I'm Barbara. I've been at Amplemarket for about 2.5 years. I used to be on the business development team. I helped building all of the outbound processes, testing a lot of different outbound strategies. Now I'm on the sales development team. And I'm really looking forward today to share how have we been drinking our own champagne at Amplemarket.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to chat with you today because actually that will be the topic of today. We will talk about how Amplemarket uses Amplemarket to book 200 and plus meetings in 1 month. So, and I'm super excited to do that with you today. And for those who just joined us, so I'm going to introduce myself again, but I'm Elric. I'm an advisor here at Amplemarket. And I'm working with the marketing team at Amplemarket, but also on top of that, I'm also the global SDR manager at AgroApples. And today, Barbara will talk about the outbound team at Amplemarket, the way they use Amplemarket, your day-to-day. We're going to go deep into your in your routine to try to understand how you are a top performer at Amplemarket. And at the end, we will give you 20 minutes or so to have like a Q&A session. So if you have any questions during the chat, we have Barbara. Feel free to leave your question in the chat and we will tackle them at the end of the conversation. Okay, so I know when we were preparing this together with Barbara and Teresa, I had one question because I know at Amplemarket you do things a bit differently with an SDR team. So my first question will be, for the audience, could you clarify what's the difference of an SDR, BDR at Amplemarket, and how do you work with the A team, the account executive team?
Absolutely. We do have a kind of different structure than we usually see. So we have three teams within the sales team at Amplemarket. We have the BizDev team, the SDR team, and the account executives. At the BizDev team, we're prospecting 8 hours a day. So we're doing all of the lead generation, the copywriting, the outreach. And once someone replies, the mailboxes are managed by the SDRs. So now as an SDR, I'm managing the mailboxes. I'm doing the intro calls, qualifying the leads, and then passing them along to the account executives for the demos. So as a BDR, the best part here is that we are very allowed to focus on what we do best. So business development is focused on the lead generation part, all of the top of funnel activities, SDRs on the qualification, discovery calls, and the AEs on the demos and doing all the negotiation, running the trials. So
Okay.
that, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. I'll let you
I
finish.
can go on 4 hours monologue, so do stop me in.
I'm curious, because I know most of the time BDRs are paired with AEs, but here it sounds like, do you have like SDR paired with BDRs? What's your structure look like between SDR and BDRs?
Okay, so it's we don't pair up. So the BizDev team, and I think that's the key for our success. We don't have individual KPIs, so it's a team goal. So
Okay.
and now that I'm outside of the BizDev team, I can brag a lot about them because it's amazing to watch them work. It's a 5-people team, and it's like a super well-oiled machine. So everyone knows exactly what they're supposed to do. They have like very good automated processes. And that's what allows us to like keep the engine going and feeding the rest of the sales team. What we do is have very close syncs. That's the idea between the BDRs and the SDRs, and then SDRs and AEs as well. If I answer your question.
Yeah, you did. Now, because the topic of today is that you booked 223 meetings in 1 month, could you describe the structure of the team? So how many SDRs and BDRs are on your team?
Of course. So at the moment, we are 5 BDRs, and for SDRs, and I think it's 7 AEs at the moment. So 5 BDRs. And the way that we work, I mentioned that it's a team goal, but each person has like their area of genius. So we have someone that's mostly focused on the lead generation part. We have Anna and Deborah that are amazing copywriters. They're super creative. We have Jean Silva that's like a deliverability ninja. So he keeps our mailboxes super healthy. And we have Matilda that's just joined, is also helping with the lead generation part.
And now curious to go in the topic of what strategy did you use to get to those 223 meetings?
Oh, in a short answer, we used about, I don't know, maybe 20 different outbound approaches. And in 1 year, just so you can get a general picture, because it's not saying that, okay, we use this specific strategy to book all of the meetings, because I think outbound is much more technical than people usually think that it is, and it's multifactorial. So it's a lot about how we are doing the lead generation. Everything starts there. How we are doing the copywriting. How are we A/B testing? How are we taking in account email deliverability? So it's not one strategy. We usually have around 20 recurrent outbound approaches. And I think last year we tested around 400 different templates. So we A/B test a lot, so we can fine tune it along the way.
Okay, so you said 20 outbound strategies. Yeah. Could you focus on 3? What do you think are the most common that you use with your team?
Yes, absolutely. So the ones that there are different things. Instead of 3, I'm going to give you 6. Okay, because we have high volume, good conversion rates, and then we have low volume and excellent conversion rates.
Okay.
So for the high volume, good conversion rates, we have, for example, decision makers within our ICP that have recently changed jobs. Okay, and we're targeting mostly sales leaders, revenue leaders, marketing leaders. And you know, when a new VP of sales joins a company, they're usually one, they have a big ARR goal in head for that year. They're probably going to reevaluate the sales tech stack, the processes. So it's a key timing to reach out to them. So I would say recently changed jobs. This is usually an approach that works across industries. If you can make some assumptions, okay, if this person just joined the company, they're a decision maker, this is probably a problem that they have to solve that I can help them with. So I'm going to use this and I'm going to say, hi, notice that you just joined company name. Congratulations. Are you looking to solve this, this, and that? For example, so we get, I would say, anything from 30, maybe to 50 outbound meetings per month from this approach, because we know that usually like 30% of the workforce changes companies within a year. So it's a never-ending source of leads that we can automate with Amplemarket. Also, the LinkedIn post approach, because these are all strategies that help us find the right people, because we're qualifying them, but at the right timing, because we know that we can make some assumptions that, okay, if they change jobs, they're probably looking into this. And the LinkedIn post approach is also one of our favorites. It's a never-ending source of leads as well, because if we can find relevant LinkedIn posts related to any kind of value proposition with our value proposition, and they're interacting, they're giving us a good signal that they're interested about what we can help them with. And we can leverage that. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, actually, to talk about LinkedIn posts. How do you keep track of LinkedIn posts? Do you have like someone on the team doing that, or do you use something to track that?
So we used, when we were just two of us, yes, I used to like manually go through LinkedIn, but it's easy work because you're going through LinkedIn, you're seeing like interesting or in high interaction level posts. Now we track a lot of different content creators on LinkedIn, and we just check the best performing posts that are related, if they're posting about sales, about marketing, and we go from there. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of automate, optimize that process to get LinkedIn posts. I think that would be a whole different kind of topic.
Indeed. So the first one, you said new executive that joined the company, you book from 30 to 50 meetings per month.
LinkedIn posts, LinkedIn events, or events in general work perfectly as well. Either if you go to live events and you get the attendees lists or the sponsors lists, and you can reach out to them saying that you notice that they're also attending the event focuses on this, this, and that. You can actually help them by X, Y, and Z. Or LinkedIn events. And there we can use our Chrome extension to get the attendees from a LinkedIn event and also reach out, mention the event as a conversation starter. So those would be like the high volume, a good conversion rate.
Okay.
And then on the lower volume, but super conversion rate, I would say, for example, the job change alerts. Whenever we have a champion from one of our current customers that changed to a different company. So this is, we don't have hundreds of leads here, but it's like a 30% reply rate, very high conversion rate, because usually they already know about Amplemarket. We have a relationship with them, so we can kind of organically, but in an automated way, reach out to them, say, hey, notice that you changed companies, congratulations. With Amplemarket, it also makes sense for your new company. And we can automate this with the job change alerts. And I would also mention the buying intent signals, something that we also use on a very regular basis. So with Amplemarket buying intent signals, we can track the exact people that are evaluating our competitors. So we can reach out to them, and we know that they're the right people. They're very warm leads. So that also has a very high conversion rate, around 3% usually, which is amazing for outbound. And we also have a cool way to get leads interacting with competitors' ads. So that's another little trick that we do.
When you say, let's go back on buyer intent. So what do you track specifically in terms of intent? Because I know intent, you can track so many things. So you are talking about competitors. What do you track specifically? Okay,
that's a great question. So what we track with Amplemarket is, it's not company-based information, it's specific person. So we can, with like 90%, 99% certainty, say, okay, this is the person that's interacting with this company at this moment. So they have to go over different kind of thresholds So we can be very certain that they are interacting with a company. But imagine if you're currently evaluating a new tool, okay, so you're going into their website, you might start following their LinkedIn page. If you request a demo, you probably have an SDR connecting with you. Then if you go to the demo, you'll connect with AEs, they'll connect with other people on your team, they'll start following your LinkedIn page. There's a lot of things that's happening along that timeline. And if someone is very attentive, they can pick it up. And we have very smart engineers that can track that at scale. So not just from LinkedIn, but in general, there's different kind of thresholds that, but it does work. We have been using it for over 3 years. So, and we have customers also. Very happy with that.
And because you were talking about competitors, do you have, I imagine, strategy for competitors also? Maybe prospect using your competitors. Do you have like a player so far strategy?
Meaning?
But for example, if you have a prospect that you know that use a specific competitor, do you have like something to help you track that? And how do you track that? And then is it something that you use on a daily basis? What's your strategy with this?
So with Amplemarket's buying intent signals, we can get that automatically. So it's something that we can use as a filter on our searcher, on our database, and say, okay, I want to see people engaging, the exact people engaging with this competitor in the last 7 days or 1 month or 6 months, for example. And then we have 2 strategies to reach out. One, we can reach out and say, hi, I notice that you're connecting with people from this competitor. Is it like just a professional, regular connection, or are you looking into their services? If this is under your scope, we can help you with sales enablement or lead generation, and so on. Or we can just use the AI copywriter and generate a first touch. The AI copywriter is gonna, if we don't want to mention the competitor, just so it doesn't seem like sneaky, we can use the AI copywriter that's going to scrape the lead's LinkedIn profile, so their about session, their job experience, the content they interacted with, to create a relevant, personalized message without having to do all of the manual research.
Okay, thank you.
If I answer your question,
that's exactly it. Yeah. I know we said we have questions for the end of the session, but I see Kaylee raising your hands. So, Kaylee, do you have any questions?
Hello, sorry to interrupt the conversation. I was just wondering, so, we get a lot of people asking, hey, how did you get my email and all of those things. So creating a message around, I noticed you working with our competitor. What sort of response would you have for prospects being like, how do you know that? Yeah.
Okay, that's a great question. And that's why we don't say specifically on our approaches, I know that you're looking into a competitor. Because it does sound like kind of like, are you stalking me? How do you know that? So what we try to make it look more organic, because that's something that you can actually pick up from LinkedIn. Like, hey, I noticed that you two are connected, that you're connected with someone from ZoomInfo, from a competitor that I'm also connected with. Are you looking into them? Is it something that's under your radar at the moment? So it's all about how you create the message. And it's also why the AI copywriter comes in handy on those times that you're like, okay, I'm sure this person is evaluating a competitor but I don't want to mention it so it doesn't sound weird. So let's go into their profile and pick something up to make a relevant kind of personalized messages.
Nice. Yeah, I like that because you don't want to assume that they are currently evaluating the other two. So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Someone asked if we're going to be sharing the, yes, I think you answered. Okay, we will be sharing the recording. Absolutely.
Yes, we will. So, okay. The next question I had for you was around, I know you moved to a new role right now, but when you are an SDR at Amplemarket, could you share with us the way you are structuring your day?
In terms of as an SDR?
Yes, in terms of time management, how did you prioritize your activities? Because you were mentioning earlier that BDRs are focused on lead generation and copywriting, and SDR, you're focusing on
Discovery call.
lead generation, managing the inbox, discovery calls.
Yes. So that's a really good question. And it's something like, since the BizDev team, thank you so much for them, they're generating like 200 meetings per month, plus the meetings that we have from inbound. So we're doing around 3 to 6, 7 discovery calls per day. So
Okay.
we're being kept busy. So most of our time is focused on preparing for the discovery calls, creating a good experience, trying to help our customers see if it's a good fit or not, updating Salesforce, never ending, updating Salesforce, and managing the mailboxes.
When you say discovery call, how long are those discovery calls? Is it 15 minutes, 30 minutes?
Usually 30 minutes, so we can have a good conversation, try and understand a bit about what's the person's sales process at the moment, what kind of tools do they have, do they use any kind of automation, is Amplemarket a good fit for them or not, and talk through a bit about the platform, just give it a quick overview.
And I'm curious to know, so do you use any qualification framework on those calls, like Bunt or Spiced or Champed?
Medic.
Okay.
I would say it's a mix of Bunt and Medic, but the goal is to make it feel like it's a conversation, but it's something that I'm working on.
I know, yeah, and for us, internally here at AgroApples, that's something super big. Yes, we have a framework, but we don't want to feel that the prospect doesn't feel that actually in the conversation, like you are saying. So, and actually, now that you are saying that, so how do you work on that it feels the conversation and not like a checklist for your prospect?
So it's a bit about how we frame the questions, I would say. I'm a super fan of Chris Voss. So I try to use a lot of labeling or mirroring or rephrasing what someone said. So if I know, for example, that it is important to me to understand what their sales team looks like, or when are they looking to implement new sales tools, because I know that the account executive is going to ask me about timeline. So I try to build the conversation so it kind of feels a bit more natural to ask, oh, okay, so when are you looking to implement this? Is it something that is urgent for you? Is this something that's going to happen maybe in the next 6 months, just to get an idea? So Josh Brown also shares a lot of good open-ended question examples. So yeah, there's a lot of good content on LinkedIn about how to ask discovery questions. So I do follow a lot of creators there as well. You included.
Thank you. When you say, you are saying on discovery call, one of your goals is to see if they're a fit for you. So could you give some example on a lead that would be a fit for Amplemarket?
Yes, absolutely. So what we have, we're lucky we have a very big total addressable market. Because most of the companies do have some kind of sales team, they have revenue goals. So it's not it's not a one size fits all, but it's a very big scope. So we are a very good fit. Imagine if it's a early stage startup and it's founder-led sales, and you know that founders have a lot on their plates. So the goal with Amplemarket is to help you automate all of the top of funnel activities, but increase the quantity without losing the quality. So be very strategic about who are you reaching out to, why are you reaching out to them today, and make sure that the message is relevant. Not just personalized in the way that, okay, I saw this on your LinkedIn profile, but be relevant for them at that moment, because that's what's going to increase your conversion rates. So it's either relevant for a 2-people sales team or for a bigger sales organization that could have a lot of sales reps already using it. But in terms of what would be an ideal customer profile for us, it's someone that does have sales motions in place, that wants to start doing, either is already doing outbound or wants to expand it. And that is looking to some automation in terms of sales. So imagine if you're working with a total addressable market of 100 accounts, because you are a very niche specific solution, I wouldn't say Amplemarket's the best fit because you want, like, if it's 100 accounts, each account has to count. You have to be like super personalized. But if you're working with a total addressable market of 3,000 accounts, 5,000 accounts, we can definitely help you a lot there. Either because the goal here is to, okay, identify the right accounts, find the decision makers, find their contact data, automate relevant personalized outreach via email, via LinkedIn, and via phone calls. Right? So it does depend on what kind of volume you're working with. If it's 100 accounts, not the best fit. If it's 2,000, 3,000 plus, yes, we can definitely help there. And we have customers all over the world because we do have global data coverage. So, yeah.
And you started to answer the next question I had. It was about how do you disqualify also early in the process? Because I know in sales that's also another topic, and you already started to talk about that. You are talking about the TAM. If it's a small TAM, it's not, maybe that's not the best fit for you. But do you use any other criteria for disqualifying someone early in the process?
I love that question. As important as qualifying someone is knowing when to disqualify. And that's actually something that we invested a lot of time right on the top of the funnel as the BizDev team. So when we're doing, everything starts with the lead generation. Either you're reaching out to the right people or the conversion rates are just going to plummet. So we do disqualify a lot based on, for example, it's not that we we work with a lot of small companies, but we know that it's not usually our sweet spot. So we're usually prospecting with bigger companies, for example. And we know that usually we work best with certain types of industries. So we're focusing on those industries or those company size, those locations. And we're very specific about who we reach out to. Because it's not just about, okay, you have a daily KPI of leads that you want to reach out to. What really flipped the script for us is not saying, okay, we have to reach out to this number of leads per day. It's saying, okay, I can only reach out to this number of leads per day. So I need to make them count because I need them to convert into meetings. So we're only going to focus on our top converting approaches. So we're not just going to reach out per reaching out. Is that, okay, if I can only reach out to 200 leads per day, because you have to take into account that you have LinkedIn actions limits, and you have phone call time limits, and you have mailbox volume that you can send. So, okay, if I can only reach out to this number of leads per day, who am I going to reach out to? Who's most likely to be interested in what we can solve for them?
And so if we go back to the strategies, the 20 strategies, we talk about a few of them. So for example, you will focus on the champion end user first that move to a new company, and then you will go to the bucket when you can have a high volume. What's your approach with that?
So there, definitely that's how exactly how we start. So we have the recurring saved searches on Amplemarket. So we would go, for example, for the job change alert from our champions. Then we could go for the buying intent signals leads. Then we could go to events, then to recent job change, then to LinkedIn posts, for example. And if we still have space, we do a lot of creative approaches as well. For example, now we're running a March Madness approach based like doing some kind of playful bets. So yeah, we do have space to test. Leon, saw that you have a...
I was going to just ask a follow-up question. So what do you mean with the March Madness? So what are you trying right now?
So I'm not like super technical. I understand zero about basketball, but we have someone on the team that does. So what we're doing is we're reaching out. We're tracking the colleges, the teams that are going through March Madness, and then we reach out to people within our ICP that went to those colleges, and reach out to say,
okay.
Mentioning the game, doing a bet. So if your team wins, I'll send you a gift card. If you lose, you have a call with us, for example.
That's relevant because I know most of the time you say it's not a great way to personalize based on the school, but here I think it's a smart way to use that. So
yeah, it's great because it doesn't give us a relevant say, okay, so this person is reevaluating sales tools, but it's a fun way to reach out to people that might not usually fall into our recurrent approaches, and it has been working well.
Perfect. Leon, sorry, now you can, I know you are raising your hand, so go ahead.
Hi guys. Yeah,
Hey.
so great, thank you for that. I would like to ask a question about the actual conversion, because we've just recently signed up to Amplemarket. I think we've just less than a month now, or just over a month. But what we've started playing about with the sequences, and we just did a sequence on behalf of our customer. We only selected 50 accounts, but I mean it was great. I mean, in terms of the open rate, we're looking at like 43%, and so it's really kind of high in that sense. But it was in terms of kind of getting them to tip over the edge and actually convert and book that meeting. Do you have any tips for that? Because in terms of that, in terms of the 50, we only got 2. And which is crazy, considering that with some of the emails that we were sending, some of the prospects open it 3 or 4 or 5 times. So it was like, there seemed to be something there in terms of the actual, getting engagements fine, but actually closing it and getting them to actually book the meeting. Do you have any tips for that?
Well, I have a lot of tips on that, but we could do a whole different conversation based on that. But if you sent out 50 emails and you booked 2 meetings, that's a really good conversion rate. So in terms of outbound, if you're getting a 1% conversion rate, meaning that you're sending 100 emails and getting 1 meeting booked, in terms of outbound, it's considered good, especially in 2024, where things seem to be getting more and more difficult. Do you agree, Elric? 2 meetings out of 50 leads?
I do, yeah. It's a really good conversion rate, actually.
See, so that's things first. Congratulations. But in terms of getting more meetings booked, open rates is usually it's a vanity metric, and that we should be focusing on reply rates. So how are people actually replying to engaging with the content? There's a lot that could be said there, because again, outbound is it's a whole science, not just on the lead generation part, on the qualification. In what channels are you reaching out to them, and how are you creating your message? There's a lot of best practices that you can pick up also on LinkedIn, on Elric's content. He interviews a lot of amazing top performing SDRs that share best practices. As a rule of thumb, in terms of copywriting, for example, shorter emails seem to be working best, but it kind of depends. The most common recommendation now is keeping it between 50 to 70 words, in an easy reading level as well. Using interest-based call to actions usually works well as well, or asking, can I send more information about this? Does this sound interesting to you? Would this be worth a chat? Instead of directly asking for the call, for example. There's a lot that could be said in terms of copywriting best practices. As a rule of thumb, interest-based seems to be working very well for us. Okay, also keeping the email short. We use the no scroll rule, meaning that if you open the email on your phone, you shouldn't need to scroll down to read the whole email. And something that we have been seeing a lot of success lately is we want to, yes, do an interest-based CTA, because we're just checking if they're actually interested, if it makes sense for them or not. But we don't want to create friction if they do want to request a demo. We want to make it easier. So on the signature, we have a request a demo link, and it's a direct link for a calendar. So it's not as pushy as do you want to do a 30-minute call with this person that you never talked with? But if you are interested, you can see it on the calendar and you can book immediately. Did I answer your question?
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you for the question. Emmanuel.
Thanks, Leon. Hey, Emmanuel.
Hey, Barbara. Hey, Elric. Thanks for entertaining my question. So I have actually 2 questions. One, I heard you say that, Barbara, you use a multi-touch approach. So I'm curious to know, do you track last touch attribution? And if so, what's been the most common last touch to get a meeting? And secondly, I heard you talk about qualification, but I wasn't sure when it comes to the meetings that you book, if there's a level of qualification required to have the discovery call, or are you doing all of your qualification on the discovery call?
Okay, that's a really good question. In terms of touch points, what we have found, because we're very data driven. So because we're testing a lot of approaches, we're testing a lot of templates. So on a monthly basis, we're looking at all of the analytics, all of the reporting, see where are we getting the most success, if we're seeing month over month increase or decrease in terms of conversions. So we know where to focus on. And what we've noticed is that usually after a fourth email, we don't get any more meetings booked. So currently we have usually 3 to 4 email touch points, and we do LinkedIn touch points in between as well. So it does depend on where your ICP is, if they're active on LinkedIn or not, if they're a very traditional vertical that usually responds better to phone calls, for example. We can automate the multi-channel sequences. So we usually use LinkedIn touch points, put a face to the name and emails. And imagine that we want to start with a LinkedIn profile visit and send an email. And a couple days later, send a LinkedIn connection request, new email. A couple days later, we start doing calls as well. Or we can send LinkedIn voice messages or video messages through Amplemarket as well. So it does depend. Where is your ICP? Where do they usually respond better? Did I answer that part?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, what was the second question?
The second part was in regards to qualification. I heard that
yes.
You're getting 30 meetings per month. I'm curious to know, of those meetings that you're booking, is there any level of qualification required to book that discovery call, or is all of the qualification done on that discovery call?
Okay, that's a great question as well. And it's kind of both. So we do a lot of qualification on the BizDev side, meaning that we're very specific about who are we reaching out to. If it's not a perfect fit in terms of industry, of company size, of location, or title even, we are excluding the people. So imagine that you go and you do a LinkedIn post approach. And it's like it's the perfect post, super related to your value proposition, to how you can help. And you get the leads from that LinkedIn post. It's not unusual for us to get a LinkedIn post with, imagine, 600 interactions, and we get 30 leads out of there, because we only want to reach out to our ICP. So if it's someone that is an individual contributor, or it's a decision maker, but in another department, they won't be the decision maker to decide if they're getting Amplemarket or not. So we don't want to invest the emails that we can send on that day, or the LinkedIn connections that we can do on that day, and someone that's not going to be the decision maker. So we're excluding them. And this is something that I think most of the companies aren't currently doing, especially because I get a lot of cold outbound myself, and I'm clearly not a decision maker. Or I get cold outreach from competitors that are not qualifying me, because if they were, they would see that I'm a competitor. So that's the second level that we do. So we do all of the filters are when we create our lists on Amplemarket, industry, location, company size. Then we are very specific about the titles that we are reaching out to. Okay. And then if we are in doubt, we will see, like manually check the websites to see if it's a good fit or not. So it does, there's a lot of qualification done top of funnel. And then during because that's what we can qualify when you're doing lead generation, right? And once you're doing the discovery call, you're having an actual human conversation. So you're learning more about their sales team, about their sales process. Would this kind of automation be what they need at the moment? Because sometimes if you're just starting doing outbound and you just want to do like a proof of concept of outbound, you don't need a self-driving Tesla, right? You need a car to drive you point A to point B to test it out. And that might not be Amplemarket. You might not be what you're needing right now. Maybe it's what you need in a year, or when you scale the sales team. So it kind of depends there.
Yeah, thanks for answering that question. That's a good point. So it sounds to me like you're looking at firmographic data, and then based on that firmographic data and your ICP, then you determine if they're a good fit. So
top of funnel, yes, to see who are we reaching out to. And then we do all of the, on the discovery call, we follow, as Elric was mentioning, usually our medic or band kind of strategy to see if it could be a good fit.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And before we go to the next question, so you are saying also that you also check the website. So what do you check on the website when you're qualifying an account?
So we see if it's imagine if it's a very, very old website, or if they're targeting industries that we know that might not be the best fit for us, for example, then we say, okay, like maybe this would not be the best fit for us. Maybe they couldn't use Amplemarket to their full potential. It's an all-in-one sales tool. So even if you don't want to use, for example, the job change alerts or the buying intent signals, you could use the multi-channel part, or the AI copywriter, or the email warm-up. You can cherry pick what you're going to use, but usually if we're doing outbound, we're trying to reach out to people that could use the whole platform, if you'd say it like that.
Okay, so if I'm hearing that correctly, so for example, you will avoid to contact companies with sales team with B2C, selling to B2C companies.
Mostly
No,
B2B.
no, sorry. Yeah, B2B. Yeah, it's B2B.
Yes,
Okay.
for that, that's a good great qualification. We do have that as a filter in Amplemarket, so you can decide if you're targeting B2B or B2Cs, and we're usually just focusing on B2Bs. But for example, if we know that it's a B2B company, but they're selling like a product to a very niche market, very niche location, that would not be a perfect fit for us as well.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks, Emmanuel, for this question. So we have another question from Tejas. So Tejas, go ahead.
Hey, thank you so
Hey.
much. Hey, Elric, Barbara. Thank you for this amazing session. I posted a few of the questions, but again, Barbara, from your experience and Elric, the question goes to you also. Is there some sort of benchmark that if we are into a B2B selling, cold prospecting, what are the numbers that we should be considering as a success been defined? For example, what interest rate, what would be the meeting book rate, open rate, reply rate? Like, how do we know? Because there is so much of activity happening from a lead perspective, outbound perspective, and Barbara, as you mentioned, 100%, some of those strategies are very important. Like, if the mail is so big enough, if it needs to be scrolled, nobody, because the attention span is just 2 seconds or 3 seconds, and you're off, right? So from that perspective, if you can help me, and again, this is not to hold, but what should be the interest rate percentage or meeting book percentage, open rate, reply rate as an industry standard, which we should be looking at as a comparison to define whether our activities or our efforts are successful or not?
Okay, that's a good question. It's difficult to answer. So it's not a perfect answer in terms of this is what you should aim for. So of course, we always want the best conversion rates possible. In terms of open rates, I would say that most of our Amplemarket users should be around 40%, 50%. This year, like 2 years ago, it was like 70%, but things in outbound have been getting so much more difficult. So you have to actually be like super strategic and be very data oriented, just like you were mentioning. In terms of open rates, I would say that considering like good open rates for outbound at this moment, I would say like 8%, everything above 8%. No, I'm sorry, that's reply rates.
Reply rate, yeah.
Reply rates, everything that's above 8% for reply rates, I can live with that, okay? But a couple of years ago, again, like our reply rates used to be 15% plus, and that was our standard. So if anything was going below 15% reply rate, it would raise our red flags and like, okay, what changed here? What can we improve? At the moment, in terms of open rates, for example, if anything, after the first 24 hours that we send a sequence, if the open rate is below 30% on the first 24 hours, we know that one, we might have made a mistake with a subject line, or two, there might be some deliverability issue with that mailbox, for example. So we would look into that. Usually, I would say that if you send a sequence, you should aim to like definitely 30% plus open rate, ideally above 45%.
So No, that's something
Perfect.
I'm working on also on my side to start tracking that, because the question also with benchmark generally, it's the segment you are going after. If you go after SMB accounts, mid-market accounts, or enterprise accounts, the answer will be different. If you go after enterprise accounts, for example, accounts with more than 1,000 employees, generally the open rate I've seen at the company I used to work on enterprise accounts is 30%, the average. And why? It's just because of the spam features. For example, it's hard to go higher than that because those companies, they have like up to 7 spam features, so it's hard to go through those spam features. But for smaller companies, it can go to, like you are saying, 40. The average I think is 40-50%, but you can go up to 70% depending on the industry. And then also the other thing I've seen is depending on the persona you are going after. So right now we are going at my current company, we go after marketing leaders. So the open rate and reply rate is higher. At my previous company, we were selling to technical buyer personas, and technical buyer persona, the open rate was a bit lower, but the reply rate was half of what we have on business buyer persona. So sales leaders, marketing leaders. And if you compare to selling to a VP of sales or to a data, I was selling to data leaders, they don't reply to cold emails. So emails was not the best performing channel. So we focus less on emails when we focus more on the phone and LinkedIn, for example.
Yeah.
And here the benchmark is, I think the answer obviously will depend, but for email specifically, like you were saying, 40 to 50% if it's below 1,000 employees, but if it's above 1,000 employees, the average it's 30% generally.
Yes, it really does depend on company size, of industry. So that's why the multi-channel approach is also super important, because some people, like, they won't reply to emails, like they could not care less, but maybe they will reply on LinkedIn. Maybe they're best at answering phone calls, for example. You also asked Tejas about interest rates and conversion rates. I would say, like, this year, anything that's above 1% conversion rate to meeting booked, it's performing well in terms of outbound. 2 years ago, like we were aiming to 3%. So if we were below 3% conversion rates, we would be annoyed. At this moment, like if it's I think we're around maybe 1.5, 2% conversion rate, and we're happy about it. So it does depend. We have to like go a bit with the flow, and the main goal is like be data oriented. Check pay attention to the open rates, the reply rates, to the interest conversion and meetings booked. And if you want to be even more specific, see what kind of outbound approaches is actually generating revenue for you. That's something that we recently implemented on our reportings in Amplemarket. So you can see, okay, imagine that you have an outbound approach that's generating a lot of interest and you're booking a lot of meetings, but you're not closing any deals from there because it's not a relevant timing for that person. So they're interested, but they're not buying. So that's not actually where you want to focus. Maybe focus on marketing, sure, but not on outbound.
So
Not
Barbara, thanks for sharing. So you just mentioned meeting booked rate, anything above 1% would be great. How about the interest rate?
Interest rate, well, ideally your interest rate should match your meeting booked rate, but the truth is that you get people that they stop replying, or they say they're interested, but then they ask a couple of questions and then they're not interested anymore, or they never actually book the meeting. So ideally it should match, but I would say aim to a 2%, 3% interest rate, because you know that you will lose a bit into the meetings booked rate. What would you say here on these topics, Elric?
On top of that, I would add the show rate, because booking rate, yes, it's important, but that you need to measure the show rate because you can book the meeting, but if your show rate is 50%, there is also an issue with your messaging. So that's something also we need to measure. Generally, from interest to book, held meeting, I would say we have like 70-80% generally. The company I used to work at, and the current company.
Okay, wonderful. Any other questions?
Okay, so we don't have more hands raised, but we have question on the chat. We have a question. Well, I'm going to start with the first one. So if I'm going back,
I think
you had a question from Andres. I saw Andres, actually, you raised your hand earlier. I don't know if
Correct.
I can see you. So do you want
Yeah.
to ask a question?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Barbara and Elric,
Hi, Andres.
for having this. So I think you already answered. I want to get more specific because the sequences that I've sent, it's as everyone is totally outbound, cold outreach. They have not yet done any cold calling. These are very traditional manufacturing companies, right? And I wanted to ask you, even though you did some lead qualifying in the platform, how often do you actually cold call them once a sequence is being made?
Okay, that's a good question as well. So Mark Roberge, the first CRO from HubSpot, he wrote an amazing sales book, and he did like really good saucer talks. And I remember him mentioning that the perfect number of times to try and call someone so they pick up is 6. And then it really depends on the number, on the times that you're reaching out to people. There's like golden windows to cold call, but ideally you should try to call someone 6 times before you give up. What we're currently implementing into our templates, because it's great to say, okay, try and call 6 times the same person, but sometimes you can't actually execute it because you have time constraints, right? So what we're currently doing is we're booking around 2 to 3 cold call steps within our sequences. So we start implementing cold call steps after the 3rd email. And the goal here is to give them a bit of more context on why we are reaching out. By the time that we do a cold call, we already connected on LinkedIn, we already send a couple of messages. And with Amplemarket, we can filter how many times someone opened an email, for example. So we can filter, okay, I only want to reach out to people, cold call people that already opened the email, so they have some context. And then we send the 4th email, and we try to call them a couple more times. So usually the phone calls are the last steps, like the last attempt to reach out to someone. So we're doing 3, but ideally, theoretically, it should be 6.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And Andres, before we move to the next question, I'm going to share. I have a friend working at Salesforce, working on the manufacturing industry in France, and he told me, yeah, for the phone and LinkedIn, the phone and email, it's the best channels for this industry. LinkedIn doesn't work. He uses it for lead generation to find the people he needs to reach out to, but it doesn't use LinkedIn at all.
Yeah, I was thinking like the emails work. I know LinkedIn does not work, so it will be great if I can learn more from your friend.
I can put you in touch with him if you want after that. So.
Thanks, Elric.
Then that will be the last question, but we have Peter. I don't know, Peter, if you're still here. You asked, I think, a couple of questions, but
yeah, I'm still
here. If still here, your first question, and we can start with your first question. You were asking, could you share some stats about number of inbound versus outbound meetings booked, and how many come in via LinkedIn, emails, and calls?
Okay, that's a good question. I would say that at the moment, we're getting about almost 50-50 inbound leads and outbound leads, because marketing has been doing an amazing job. So we do really get our calendars filled. In terms of what channels are performing best, I think email is still our golden channel. We're not doing a lot of cold calls. We just had a new colleague joining the SDR team, and he's doing like 80, 100 calls per day. So I think we're all gonna start doing cold calls like him, stepping up our paces, but we're mostly relying on the emails and the LinkedIns. I would say that most of our meetings come from emails, but that could also be because we're doing more email touch points than sending LinkedIn messages.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter, for the question. So we are already at the end of this session today. So thanks everyone for joining. Before we left, Barbara, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you?
Well, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Barbara Ancede. It's a weird name, so do print screen. But you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can send me an email at barbara.ancede. I'll type it here. Barbara.
And actually, I'm sharing your LinkedIn profile on the
Perfect.
chat.
Thank you. Amplemarket.com. So feel free to connect or send me an email. Am I sending it to everyone? Everyone. Yes. Okay. Here it goes. That's my email. Feel free to shoot me a email, LinkedIn. We will probably reach out to you after the event as well. So be ready.
At least you are letting them know. So thanks everyone, and thanks for all your great questions. And thanks, Barbara, for everything and sharing your strategies. I think it was great to see what's working for you. And really, for me specifically, the biggest takeaway from this session was your strategy and the way you're thinking about it, the high volume, good conversion versus low volume, high conversion. I think that's something that was new for me. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you, Elric. It was great talking with you. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you so much, everyone, too, for the questions. And I'm looking forward to connect. Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.